The year is 2025, with hundreds of millions of developers contributing to 420 million plus repositories. I certainly don't need to tell you how important GitHub is and how crucial a role it plays in a developer's life. If you are learning programming or are working in any role which involves any kind of development, you are required to have a GitHub account. If you don't have one, consider creating it today. Why, you ask? Because in today's hiring scenario, every recruiter will quickly browse through your GitHub profile if it is mentioned in your resume. Some recruiters do go the extra mile and they spend time looking at your projects and contributions on GitHub as well. If you already have a GitHub account, good job. You're already ahead of the curve. However, there is one more thing. What most people do is that they create a GitHub account but don't really optimize their GitHub profile at all. So when a potential recruiter checks your profile, they don't really find what they are looking for. And this can cost you the job. Let's discuss how we can fix that in this video. Hi, I am Aquib and you're already watching Code with Aquib, where I share content on programming and web development. We talk about best practices, useful tools and extensions, and build some projects. In this video, we are going on a treasure hunt to unlock GitHub's Easter egg, a secret repository that gives you the superpower to optimize your GitHub profile. Let's go. Okay, so this is how my GitHub profile looks right now. And if you have just created a new GitHub account, this is how your profile will look as well, with the only exception that you might not see so many repositories, and maybe this section is empty for you because there are no repositories, and you might also not see anything in the contribution section, so you might see an empty chart there. But this is what it looks like when we have not made any changes. This is the default. So let's jump in and try making a couple of quick changes before we get to that special repository so that our profile looks a tiny bit better, and then we'll make that special repository and then customize it. The first thing that I want to do is to switch over to the normal view because this is the incognito view, and that's the first tip for you. Whenever you make any changes to your profile, make sure you check it in the incognito view so that you get to see it like the HR executive or like the HR person would see it, right? Because if you switch to the normal view, we have other options such as the edit button and a couple of other things which sort of defeat the whole purpose. So we are creating the profile for them. So we should definitely check it the way it looks to them. So always make sure whenever you are done editing something, switch to an incognito window and try accessing your profile there so that you see it like they would. So the first thing that I'm going to do real quick is to click on this button which says edit profile, and this enables a quick sub menu where we have a couple of options. So the first thing is the bio. I'm just going to add one line here. This is sample bio, but I really recommend you spend some time and type out a good bio that you can put here. You can also take something from your resume if you want that. Then the pronoun part, I'm just going to pick this one. The company, the location, you can skip whatever you want and fill in whatever you want, but I really recommend you fill in everything that you have. So the website, my social profiles, I'm going to put in LinkedIn and Instagram. And then you will also notice that when you put the correct social profile, it automatically shows the relevant icon as well. So it's pretty smart that way. And as soon as I type in the Instagram URL, it should automatically then detect Instagram as well. So if you click outside, you will see the Instagram icon shows up. Save this, and this immediately shows up in the profile here. And the links are of course clickable, so they can directly visit it from here. So this is the first part. The other thing of course is to add a profile picture real quick. So if you click on the picture, it actually takes you to a more detailed settings page where we have a couple of other options as well. So this basically has a section called contributions and activity where it asks us, do you want to include private contributions in your calculations? I have checked that. You can disable it if you want to. Then the other option is to show achievements on my profile. I definitely want to show that, so I have checked that as well. Achievements are some badges that we get from GitHub when we do certain things. So I have only one achievement on my profile, on this profile to show. But again, this is something that we get from GitHub side. They are like badges which show up. And then we have the jobs profile, which is basically, do you want to show yourself available for hire or not? So depending on your preference, you can set that as well. So I'm going to add the profile picture real quick. So uploads, go to pictures. I already have a picture that I have selected. You can use the same picture as the one on your LinkedIn if you have a good one there. But again, make sure this is a professional looking photo. So something with a solid background where you look nice would be recommended. So this is the one. And let's go back to the profile now. So the other thing to keep in mind is that this image will take a few minutes to show up. So don't worry if it doesn't show up instantly, because if you click on it, you will see it inside, which means it has been uploaded, but it usually takes a couple of minutes before it shows up here. The final part here, before we jump to the special repository, is this. So there's a section called customize your pins. I'm going to click on that. And this basically allows us to customize this popular repositories section to show the repositories that we want. And typically for a recruiter in a hiring scenario, we would want to show them our latest projects. So I'm just picking 3-4 random repositories here, and these repositories will then be replaced and they will show up instead. So the pinned section shows up now, and this contains the repositories that I want the recruiter to see, and not the repositories that are random and not useful or relevant to them. So make sure you make this change as well. And once you have this in place, now we can go ahead and we can actually see that special repository. I'm going to try to refresh this quickly to see if the photo shows up. It still hasn't showed up yet, which is fine. It will show up. We also have this tiny little status button if you want to set something like busy or you have vacation, break, whatever. So you can set that up as well. And then that shows up here in this tiny little bubble. Perfect. To create that special repository, we need to go to the repositories. So I'm going to click on that option. That's the second option in the menu. And then create a new repository. Now, the trick here to unlock that special repository or that Easter egg is to have the repository name as the same name as your username. As soon as you type that in, GitHub automatically prompts you and tells you that this is a special repository that we can use to add a README file to your GitHub profile, and we can basically customize it to add whatever we want. What this does basically is that it gives us one extra section on our profile which shows up at the very top of everything else, and we can customize it the way we want. So this is the trick. The name of the repository must be the same name as our GitHub username. That's it. That's the secret. So once we have the name in place, we have to keep it public and then check this button which says add a README file and then create the repository. Now, as soon as we create the repository, you will see that we already get a template here which says hi there. And if you go to the edit button, we have a couple of things here, and I will talk to you more about this in just a minute. But right now, I just want to show you what this really does. So this is a standard HTML style comment if you see, and I'm just going to remove that real quick. So I'm just deleting the first line and the last line of the comment. So basically I've just enabled all the content now, and then we'll go ahead and commit the changes. So we have a commit button on the top right, this green button, commit changes. Again, click on commit changes, and this is now saved. Now, whatever we see here, this entire thing is also going to be visible on our profile. Basically, what this special repository does is it enables this README file to be visible on our profile. So now if I go back to my profile, you will see that this README file actually shows up as it is, and it shows up at the top of all other sections. And this is customizable. You can basically put in whatever you want. It can have images, videos, links, practically anything you can think of. So this is very powerful, and it gives you a lot of control over how you want things to look in your profile. Now let us go ahead and actually take a look at what this MD file actually is, what is this MD extension, and how it works. For this, we are going to switch to VS Code. We'll create an MD template, and then we'll just copy and paste it here. So let's continue in VS Code. Alright, so I have opened VS Code and I have created an empty file called profile.md, and I'm just going to use this for reference because this won't really affect anything on GitHub. But I quickly want to walk you through what the MD extension is and how we can create an MD document. And then we can just copy something from here, paste it on GitHub, and that's basically it. So there are 5 things that I want to quickly discuss for the MD format. The first is that MD is basically short for Markdown. It's a special text only format, which is very similar to how HTML works. If you already know HTML, we basically have some special tags or special characters which enable different things. So for example, if you want something to be a heading, as you might have already noticed on GitHub, the high default text that we get, it's basically a heading, and that is a hash. So if you put something followed by a hash, it becomes a heading in Markdown. So we can say welcome to my profile, for instance. And then what I really like to do, and a lot of other developers love this as well, is that we actually use the emojis from our keyboard, and they look really nice as well. So what I will do is I have this enabled on my MacBook. You can just enable your emoji keyboard as well. But basically I have a shortcut in the URL bar here, or in the top bar here, Action Center. So I'm just going to go to show emojis, and this basically gives me the entire emoji keyboard. I can just type something in and use it here, but you can also enable the emoji keyboard from anywhere else on your system and use that. So I'm just going to use the high emoji like this, right? And this will show up just fine. So we don't really have to put it as an image. The emojis show up directly. So this is the biggest heading available in Markdown. And then again, we have a couple of options. So hash is level 2 heading, then hash is level 3 heading, and so on, right? So let us say that the first thing that we want to show them maybe is that, let's say, technologies I specialize in, for example, right? So specialize in, this is going to be our heading. And then under this, let us say we want to add a paragraph. So to add a paragraph, we really don't have to do anything. We can just type, and that's a paragraph. So I can say, for example, here are the top technologies I use. Again, you can change this. I'm just giving you an example. And then what we can do is we can add a link if we want, or images if we want. So in this particular case, I want to show you something really interesting, and this is the second thing, which is there is a really interesting way to add badges here, and they look really nice on a profile. So for that, I have a reference link, which I have just pasted in this file. I'm just going to copy that real quick, and I'll just show you what this is in just a minute. These are basically image tags, if you see, just like HTML images, and they will basically give us the HTML badge. So if I just open this link in the browser, you will see what I'm talking about. It'll give us this HTML5 badge, and it looks really nice on GitHub, right? And just like this, I have a couple of other badges, JavaScript, Bootstrap, and you can find one for practically any technology that you want, right? My reference here contains a dozen of them. So I have a lot of them. Again, I don't use all these technologies. This is just a reference to show you. And I will also leave a link to this file in the comments or the description of the video. So you can go ahead and take a look at the references from there and copy whatever you want. So I link this README in the description box as well. But I've just added this. So this is the second thing, which is how we add images. I'm going to copy this part, and then let's go ahead and add the next part, which is going to be, let's say, get in touch with me on, and let's say we are just putting some social media links, or you can also use this for your blog posts if you have a blog and if you write something, or any other link that you want them to check out, right? So for example, let's say, I know this is repetitive. We already have LinkedIn in the menu on the left side, but just for an example, if you want to make something a link in Markdown, what we basically do is we cover that in square brackets. So this, and then we have round brackets, and this is where we type the URL, right? So for example, www.linkedin.com. github.com/in/code with Aquib. This is my LinkedIn handle. And then this should enable a link to LinkedIn basically in the markdown format. So this is the third thing for markdown. This is how we add links. So again, you can add whatever you want. You can add your email, you can add external links, blog posts, recommendations, practically anything you can think of. So I'm just going to add that in as well. And that's Instagram. Again, there might be some issues where links might not work on headings, and then you might just have to remove the heading part, and then the link might start working. So it's just how markdown works, right? So whatever is allowed, and whatever is not allowed is not allowed. So this is basically 3 things that we've seen so far. We'll talk about 2 other things in just a minute, but I want to take this now. So I'll just copy this, everything that we have done, and then let's go back to GitHub and replace the content. So I'll click on the edit button. I'll replace the whole thing, commit changes, and then you will see this is what I'm talking about, right? These badges look really nice on the profile. So if I go back to my profile now, you will see this part, it looks really nice now. So we are welcome to the profile. We have this heading too. Then we have the badges. We can have it in the next line, of course. And then, we have the second heading, and these are links. So LinkedIn, Instagram, these are links. If you click on it, it will open the respective app, right? Or go to the URL basically. So this is the bare bones. This is the basics of Markdown. Again, you can refer to the official documentation for more, and you can practically do anything with it, which is the next part. So there are 2 really amazing things I want to show you. Again, this is not my doing. I have not done that. There are a lot of amazing developers out there who have basically done this, but I just want to show you what is possible, right? So again, I have references here. There are 2 references. I'm just going to copy them, and then I'll talk you through what they are as well. So the first reference basically is your GitHub stats. And what this project does, or what this URL does, is it calculates some stats for your GitHub profile. Right? Again, you can check the GitHub repository for the actual logic on how this is working, but we don't really have to check that. We can just use it. So this is the link for that. And the only change we need to do is to put our username here, right? So I'm just going to type my username in the first link. And then the second one actually shows the top languages from our profile. So it goes through our repositories. GitHub also checks how many languages we have and what are the top languages we have on our account. So this is going to check that. And then again, I'm just going to replace my username here, save it, and then let's go back and check. So I'll copy this and add it to my profile. So I will remove this part, get in touch with me, and I'll replace it with the stats instead. And then again, commit, and that's it. So now if you go back to your profile, you will see this amazing graph shows up. And then if I just go back to the public view, right, you will see the stats now. And this is brilliant, right? You will see top stars, total stars earned, total commits made in this year, total pull requests, total issues resolved, contributed to how many repositories. You will see the top language as well, which is, in my case, it was C++. And then this is the rating for the profile. And then on the bottom here, you will see most used languages. So this C+ is basically their rating, which is, I have not been very active on GitHub, which is fair. And then in the bottom here, you will see some of my top languages. Most of my repositories are HTML based. So that's HTML, JavaScript, CSS, C++. These are some of the top languages on my profile. So this is 4. This is how we can add some really interesting parts to our profile. And finally, number 5, this is something for you to explore. I want to leave links to a couple of other crazy extensions like these in the description box. But there are some really cool things that developers have done with their profiles. And I leave some of those links in the description box. You can go there and check what they have done as well. So this is how you can actually go ahead and customize your GitHub profile to make it look really nice. And this looks way better than the default, which is this, right? So this is how it was, and this is how it is now. And that's it. Now you know how to unlock the secret repository for profile optimization. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. So go ahead, optimize your profiles, and then come back to this video and drop the link to your GitHub profile in the comments below so that others can also get inspired by your creativity and I get to see what you did as well. Now that you have watched this video till the end, here's a bonus bit for you. Did you know that in addition to sharing and collaborating on our code, we can also use GitHub to deploy web applications? Yes, you heard that right. With a feature called GitHub Pages, GitHub actually allows us to deploy static websites made with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript directly on GitHub for free. And if you play around with it a little bit, we can actually deploy complex applications like React.js and other frameworks on GitHub as well. And of course, all of this is absolutely free. Do let me know in the comments below if you want me to create a separate video explaining how to deploy web applications on GitHub for free. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing to the channel for more content on programming and web development. Do like the video and share it with your friends so that they understand how to optimize their profiles as well. If you have any questions around what we discussed in the video, do let me know in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Additionally, if you want me to create videos on a specific topic which are more in depth, do let me know in the comments as well and I'll try to create a video around that topic. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep committing.